Okay. Thank you so much for coming in. Now I want to share again my screen. Here you are. So today we're going to talk about exercise and proteins. It's a very important part for metabolic health. So, how much we need to exercise? And World Health Organization recommend for adults from age of 18 to 64 to be quite physically active. So it's mean approximately 150 minutes or 2.5 hours of moderate intensity activity per week. That might be different activities like brisk walking, swimming, etc. Or 75 minutes extra to that, 75 minutes of vigorous activity like running, swimming, more active, and the strength training twice a week at least. And also includes balance and flexibility exercise. For adults from age of 14, 50s, it's very important to focus on the strength training to maintain muscle mass because it's a crucial age. Women going through menopause and men also going through testosterone reduction significant, and this age is extra important to look after yourself with extra care. When they hit 60s, we still want 150 minutes of moderate intensity, 75 minutes of vigorous activity each week, extra with strength. But here going extra careful balance exercise like Tai Chi or yoga to prevent falls and maintain muscle mass. And 60 plus people need to focus more on bone health with weight-bearing exercising like stair climbing and walking. For teenagers, it's very important to exercise at least 60 minutes of moderate activity or vigorous every single day. Is that important for them? Mix different activities like running, jumping, swimming, body weight exercises, and push-up squats at least 3 days per week. So with different words, we need to exercise at all time. Doesn't matter in which age group we are. Teenagers, more crazily, the hormonal boom in their age is very important to exercise every day. But when the teen's gone, again, it's not only 18, yeah, so everybody have a different, up to age of 25, some boys still can grow. So that's important for them, maybe in their, even up till the early 20s. So here I want to very important to talk why we need to exercise and what it does to our metabolic substances like insulin get reduced. It's improve glucose uptake, reduce blood sugar during exercise. Glucagon get increased, raises blood glucose via liver output. So the liver start to work more actively. Lactate. And the lactate is a substance probably well known for you more as lactic acid. This fuel get produced during exercise, and after the exercise, maybe you notice they have this muscle pain. So during a contraction, the muscle contract. Remember last week we talked about, in our first lecture, we talk about ATP fuel and have hydrogen. And these when exercise, they breaking down energy, ATP, to move, and hydrogen increase concentration in the area where we're working on. As a result, the pH get more acid. So historically, 20, 30 years ago, scientists thought there's lactic acid because they noticed lactate and more acid area. So it was the area of the pain of exercise was more acidic. And they thought the organism produced lactic acid. That's why it's pain. They still, a lot of people think is they still have lactic acid. No, we don't have lactic acid. We have this acidity increase due to burn of energy, ATP, and the lactate get produced in the muscle as a bypass product. And lactate arrive to be amazing fuel for brain and activities. Yeah, so we're using that. Organisms love it. It's like a yum yum for the brain. and is also a signal for fat oxidation and amazing brain energy. So if you have a problem solving, you need the best thing for brain plasticity is lactate. So if you want some medication, not medication, but if you want to improve flexibility of your brain, just exercise and allow yourself to feel this in the muscle, this a little ache. So another very important is myokines. Myokines is actually is the huge group of different substances, and it's around 650, even more, myokines produced by muscle during exercise. So literally, it's like a huge world, like microbiomes. It's that important. And they play such a different roles. They have anti-inflammatory, they enhance metabolism, they convert. Actually, it's a very busy guy. So they get produced in exercise. So that's why exercise and move essential for human being and well-being in general. I want to pay extra attention for specific myokine, like irisin. It converts brown fat, white fat to brown fat. Remember last week we discussed mitochondria. So exercise is one of them. Yeah, so there's another option how it can move and transfer white fat cells to the brown, but it takes much longer. Yeah, so if you're gonna think I have 2 weeks to look better, what do I choose? Cold swim, cold exposure, or I'll choose hiking in the mountains, or I choose exercise. So if you exercise under cold exposure and in the mountains, you probably hit all three in one. So yes, irisin and myokines in physical activity converts your white laser fat cells and moving them to the brown fat cells to boost energy and burn them. Adrenaline is very important, as you know. It's getting this a little bit of aggression from us and metabolize glycogen and boost performance. Cortisol is a stress hormone, we know that. And cortisol get activated and get rise in the bloodstream. And what does is also cortisol needs sugar. And of course, as a result, they consuming more sugar in the bloodstream because cortisol requires the new signal, I need more sugar, and liver deliver this extra sugar to the bloodstream. So actually it's like a circle of a lot of metabolic changes. But if it's too much exercise and too much cortisol, yeah, and lack of sleep and too much stress, of course, is not most beneficial. So here we need to understand about the balance. So if you're super tired, super stressed, you have to exercise, but don't overdo it. Yeah, so it's essential. Growth hormone and testosterone so is of course essential for build the muscle and burn the fat and support recovery. And brain health BDNF is the brain factor essential for brain function, and adiponectin increase fat use, vascular health, and insulin sensitivity. Probably we can talk more and more how many substances, but more important is anti-inflammatory actions and insulin sensitivity. So here is some very important neurotransmitters and what get produced in hormones, really, myokines, what get produced depends on our physical activity. So as you can see, strength training is stimulating testosterone, growth hormone, and myokines. Myokines do a lot. So it's like a microbiome for the muscles. And sprinting high intensity, increase in irisin that actually, as we discussed, is very good to transfer, create these white fat cells to the brown. Endurance and cardio, that will affect your cortisol level, insulin sensitivity and glucagon, and yoga, the endorphins. So of course, all the physical activity important, and ideally we want to balance. We need them all. What it does for the brain? Exercise, probably one of the best brain training. So a lot of evidences and nearly all the sciences agree that nothing better for brain stimulation and longevity for the brain function Nothing exists better than physical activity. You can read books, you can do different puzzles. Nothing will help you as much as physical activity. So to age gracefully and function in terms of your brain as long as you can, please do physical activity. Mainly is a strength, sprinting, and endurance. So dopamine is very important for our goals, to be excitement. Serotonin, we're going to discuss a lot about serotonin, is I would say this our happiness. Will be endurance and cardio, so running in the morning, etc. So endorphins for pain endurance and yoga, GABA for sleeping. If you're struggling to calm down, you have anxiety. So if you're struggling with that, then yoga stretching will be right for you. Acetylcholine, and acetylcholine is really helping with studying. So if you learn a new language or you need to learn studies at university where you need to learn something new, acetylcholine is one of them, and it will be strength training. So as you can see, probably strength training and high intensity and endurance together with yoga, all of them will cover majority of needs for our brain function. Now is the question when we have to exercise. We discussed in our first lecture about circadian rhythms and your individual, what the best for you. And of course, your internal clock and your own clock here comes crucial role and very important role. But here we're going to discuss what in general, what the best time for exercise and what result we can achieve. Morning exercise will boost cortisol early. So we're already waking up in the morning because the cortisol raising naturally. So thanks to cortisol waking up. Yeah, so if you don't have a cortisol, it will be harder for us to wake up. And then they start to, around 9 o'clock, start to slow down. And cortisol actually help us sharp focus and have a mental clarity as I start the new day. And if you exercise in the morning, you can synchronize your circadian clock earlier and improve after that sleep because the cortisol, I would say, higher for a little bit longer and then calm down and be reduced late in the evening, creating this perfect time for sleep. So if you have insomnia or you struggle with sleep or you're chasing your thoughts, adds in the morning this extra 15-20 minutes of physical activity, then you're high in cortisol naturally, so angry and you're like more aggressive. It's a great start. Midday exercise is great, ideal for strength and performance because in the midday they are more alert and more control of our body. As a result, we have a less risk of injury and more muscle power output. With different words, for strength training, for weights, it's better to exercise in the lunchtime. And evening exercise, reach of GABA and melatonin pathway starts to kick. And if the over exercise or even high intensity exercise, they might delay our sleep. So if you struggle already, have a stressful job, and you have a lot of stress during your day, it's not a good idea. A part of yoga, walking and stretching, then actually produce more GABA and it will help you facilitate the sleep. So it really depends on your needs and your personality. We can choose the right exercise time for you. I want to mention of over exercises and exercise addiction because I think we all know somebody who over exercise and over exercise or have an addiction to exercise not helping. And here it's very important when you start a journey and you try to figure out how to exercise, it's very important to not overlap and keep balance. Because over exercising or overtraining creating this physical imbalance between exhaustion and recovery. And recovery is super important. It's essential for the organism, for normal performance, including brain functions. Exercise addiction creates already psychological dependence on exercise and mood regulation and even identity control. People can't feel irritated, they feel anxious, and they even feel depressed because they miss the session or they miss the gym. So this is something I want to warn. If you know somebody, please show them this lecture, because sometimes people who are going to the gym every single day, super fit, they're thinking they're great, they don't have any problems, not at all. Yeah, these people actually, they have a lot of metabolic issues where they need to be aware of. So what is a sign of dangerous overexercise? Is a fatigue. The person constantly feel tired, even they've been after the rest. Some women are having loss of periods. They might mislead it with hormonal changes. They have more frequent injuries or even illnesses, so immune system can't really cope. They decline performance, including cognitive. They have a mood swings, they're irritable or even depressed, and they develop anxiety or guilt if they missed the session or they didn't exercise today. So that's not healthy. So what is happening in terms of doing exercise, and why exercise actually so strong in creating so much addictions? Actually, even in psychology, people need to have professional help for that, because endorphins and other transmitters create reward loop, pain relief, and euphoria feeling. So literally like a drug. Dopamine drives motivation and craving to repeat such behavior, and the endorphins release in response to prolonged activity to balance endorphins, and they can cause post-exercise dysphoria or even depression, and the person as a result staying in this loop. So we don't want this to happen, what I want to say, because if you overdo different things, you might, a lot of people I know from my aesthetic medicine practice, people who exercise a lot, they have other body image distortion like body dysmorphia. So they're not happy have a look. They have perfect body, they're looking great. No, they're not happy, want to change. They notice absolutely little things. The eating disorders, or a lot of men, they're muscly, we still want to gain much more muscle. So here it's very important to keep balance. So I'm here to explain that we need to exercise, but we need to know when to say it's a bit too much. So now I want to talk about body dysmorphic disorder, because it's very important. Again, not for everyone really. It doesn't matter what type of body you have. You're lean or you're fat, bigger frame. You might have body dysmorphic disorders. Whatever ever you see, you're never happy the way how you look. And people always want to fix them, change. For example, have a hip, so they have a dip, or the bum isn't big enough. Then they have a little bit fat here, there, or a woman is about cellulite, is in like non-stop story. Cellulite is absolutely normal to have, or tiny little line. So as aesthetic medicine, 15 years of experience, and can say, I don't want people to have that or deal with this in the future. So I'm telling you straight away, it's 1 in 50 people affected by body dysmorphic disorders. And if you just start making big changes like metabolism, start to exercise and eat healthy, you're under the risk. If you overdo it and you don't keep the balance, you might get into the statistics. Hopefully not. Eating disorder. So as anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, or binge eating, then people want to change themselves and put in too much. Again, the brain start to worry too much about what they eat, how they exercise, how much kilocalories they consume, how much sugar, and all this stuff. And as a result, a lot of psychological issues might raise, and we don't want this to happen either. So binge eating disorder, the people eat too much and then push themselves to burn them. So actually, these people come to the loop as well. So if you notice or you know somebody, please seek professional help as soon as possible. And be, I would say, balance everything. So balance is everything for everyone. Orthorexia nervosa is its an absolute obsession of eating healthy. You know, there's people who eat only organic food, they only poor, only clean, they don't eat this, they don't eat that, it's organic, inorganic. If it's not organic, I'm not going to eat it. And they're absolutely irrational, I would say. They have extreme dietary rules. They can't relax, they can't eat things, in the mind constantly playing different things. Again, is driven by desire to be perfect and making the perfect health choices, have a perfect figure, don't do these types of effects. It's like perfectionism, some sort of. As a result, there's a lot of issues like depression, anxiety, moral judgment, and this is not what we want. Yeah. So please know about these illnesses, and people who start making change in their life, they're more prone to that because the balance and um, it's easy to jump from one to another. So we want to stay there. If you notice something, please make sure healthcare professionals and experts is by your side. Talk to your friends, talk to specialists if you notice that type of tendencies and trying to stop them. Yeah. Sometimes it's better do not exercise and have a break and set back from all the changes and calm down and then start it again. So it's absolutely normal, rather to get some sort of mental issues. So now, very quickly coming back to the muscle, what's going on in the muscle? And here I want to show you importance of calcium. You probably heard that years ago, maybe 20 years ago, the calcium being prescribed for everyone, everyone. And so I think I remember 20 years ago when I was still practicing as a student, all the elderly was given like boxes of this calcium. It was such a thing. So and they found out now that actually calcium needed for muscle contractions. Yeah, and is it play a crucial role to contract your muscle. So if you go to the gym, please make sure you have adequate amount calcium as a micronutrient yeah, in terms of your diet, or you're taking a little bit of supplementation and maybe using some sort of good quality of water. Yeah. So calcium open the channel and playing crucial role in muscle contraction. It's very important calcium for ladies and for the bone quality, yeah, to avoid all the bone degradation for women after menopause. And here again, to keep the balance is essential to have adequate vitamin D level and adequate exercise because bone quality of an estrogen going away is supported quite significantly by physical activity. Yeah. So yeah, calcium receptors with age getting less and less responding. So it means less and less muscles get contracted. Yeah. And physical activity and correct diet in terms of micronutrients will keep this balance and keep your receptors in the muscle more responding to contraction. Early or later, anyway, all the receptors get old and will go away. That's why the new muscle and physical activity will keep them more alive and they can prevent degradation. So what's happened to our energy? When they start to exercise, calcium channel activate and happening contraction. So what happens in our organism in terms of metabolism? So ATP or energy get used in 3 different systems. Phosphagen, so and it's super fast and is a duration from up to 10 seconds. And the most fuel will be creatine phosphate. So creatine, probably people who go to the gym, they are aware of such supplement. It's a bypass from very, very intense exercise. And it is quite wise to take it as well if you go into the gym to support your energy. Anaerobic glycolysis started from 10 seconds to 2 minutes exercise, and what does quite fast process is transform glucose to lactate. And so we discussed lactate before. Yeah, so it's great product and the brain adores that. So that's mean to get the better result and activate our brain function, we do need this 10-second to 2 minutes exercise. So high intensity daily, then have a rest. So 10 seconds, I don't know, half a minute, 1 minute, maximum two, get a little bit, get this lactate for the brain, for organism, for metabolism, and calm down. And then is aerobic system, is everything that over 2 minutes and last for hours. So it's slow metabolism and you start to burn and use the energy from fat, carbs, and even proteins. So if you decide to run marathon or you exercise, I don't know, walking or swimming for long periods of the time or playing, I don't know, football, any physical activity, aerobic system start to kick. So what we want still, we probably want them all. We want super active, we want anaerobic glycolysis, and we want aerobic system because in our metabolism, we as a fire alarm, we want to test all of them. We want to make sure that creatine get produced, the glucose and lactate present for the brain, and the fat and carbs and proteins get burned. So here we want once a week, on regular switch all the buttons to make sure all the function is working and organism metabolism will work as a clock. To go as circadian rhythms, of course. So here as well, a little illustration. So it's the fastest way, it's a sprint, very, very quick, glycolysis, medium, and long term. This is how energy gets used. So another first lesson, I'm trying to talk about different activities and what does what. And remember, for physical activity and mitochondrial production, we really like zone 2. Yeah, so is actually your blood, your heart rates. Here, how many per minute. So to lose the weight, so actually endurance zone, quite good, aerobic zone, and anaerobic, so discuss very, very short period of the time to maximize your performance, but it's not recommended if you're not trained. So if you're new to physical activity, make sure you control your heart rate. So here is some form that physical activity readiness. That's mean if you didn't exercise before or your family or friends, you want to start exercise, it's very important to screen for contraindication for physical activity because if you haven't done it before your age of 40, 50 or 60, you need to consult a healthcare professional or at least do self-assessment. So it's a standard questionnaire. Then you read the questions and you reply yes or no. For example, is the doctor ever said you have a heart condition or high blood pressure? If you said yes, then you need to be careful, yeah? I input this form as well in the CellH platform. So you can go there, download, or you can after that use this video, answer the question. And if you answer at least one yes, in this case, you need to make sure is your condition is under control. Have you discussed everything with your doctor, healthcare professional, or physical activity, like a PA, personal trainer? If there is no risk, then you have to start only low to moderate intensity activity and build up physical activity gradually. As well, if you have extra weight and you have metabolic part of syndrome, what we discussed, again, it's less is more. So exercise and build it slowly because you need to prepare your organism and cognitive function as well. So don't overload it because even lactate sometimes might be too much and they might be overwhelmed and overwhelmed, never good. Yeah, so we might have side effects from that. So for how long take recovery? Because you might be surprised that recovery after physical activity is more important than even physical activity because the magic happens during this recovery time. So after ATP, very fast energy, it takes us 3 to 5 minutes to come back to normal, and recovery is moderate. Lactate clearance is very quick. So don't even try to do the blood test, because if you think that lactate will be in your bloodstream, that's not going to happen. Lactate clearance very quickly. Your organism just utilizes it so quick, like it's such an enemy. Within half an hour to 60 minutes, and use moderate energy. So it's not that much to use it. So don't do a blood test. It's useless. Only if your laboratory is there and you exercise and you do some sort of research. So don't ask your healthcare professional, I want to see how much lactate I have. That's not going to happen. But what is important is muscle repair and rebuilding. And it's very energy consuming. So you use a lot of ATP. Remember this point? Remember this energy, mitochondria and your brown bad cells needed here. And they're working hard to get them more, because it's take up to 72 hours, so 3 days to recover them. It depends on what type of physical activity you do. And hormones like testosterone, estrogen, and cortisol levels. That might take hours to days. Cortisol, we discuss it's hours, but the testosterone and other hormones, adrenaline, for example, other hormones might take longer. And it's variable in terms of how much energy they use. As outlined, that recovery requires more energy than doing exercise themselves. So you don't need too much energy, too much food intake on the day or physical activity, but you need it day number 2, day number 3. And it's important you understand that your organism can't be overwhelmed every single day. They need recover, mainly if you're new to physical activity or you start taking it a little bit more serious and you want to do it by science. Make sure if you got a hard day, you have this achy muscle, have a rest. Give your organ rest, because if you're going to overwhelm and overexercise after even more, you can do stretching. Yeah, you can do yoga. You can have a walk, something very light exercise, or having better massage or steam room, or a little swim. That will help. But please don't push yourself too much. If your muscles sometimes might feel sore for even longer, so sometimes even up to 5 days. If you're older and you have such response, make sure you respect your pain. Yeah, you have to respect it and don't push over, because it'll be no good. So in this case, you only will damage you. If you think you're such a hero, you do this for the pain. No, you're not. You only make it worse. So what's happening during this recovery? Magic. Where massive metabolic adaptation happens. The most magic happening after. So I hope you understand that. Protein gets synthesized, new proteins get produced, and they really need a lot of energy and ATP hungry. So day number 2 or 3 is very important that you maintain good protein diet. Just straight after, you can use a fast protein shake for the fast proteins. Yes, maybe chicken or lean meat. But day number 2 and 3, make sure you have a proper diet, and you think about your recovery. Mitochondria biogenesis, so we have more factories produced, and so the white fat cells, mitochondria getting more active, so they just get born. So it was nothing there. It's like a miracle, like a pregnancy within the fat cells, and the new mitochondria get in there, and they produce more energy. Hormonal recalibration is the insulin, testosterone, cortisol, growth hormones to grow your muscle. It's very important. Yeah, growth hormone need muscle getting a little bit longer and wider. Depends on exercise you do. And of course, your immune system repair and inflammation control, because creatine hold the water. Yeah, so remember how more changes your more acidic environment, and more acidic environment creating this swelliness. That's why after exercise, like a picture, you're so muscly, isn't it? Because of creatine. Yeah, if you exercise, you don't exercise, your muscles more relaxed and then have contracted, is because of creatine. Yeah, so if you want to have these curves and more muscles, more curves for the pictures, whatever, take a pictures after the exercise, and then you look like bodybuilder. But it does take time to recover. Energy cost breakdown. I like energy cost because like money. Money is like your organism is your bank. So, and which one the most expensive? So, which one you will give a lot of energy? It's a sprint, like 10 seconds. It will create high spikes in terms of energy. They use a lot of energy, so it's great. Weightlifting, 45 to 60 minutes. It's great, quite big turnover of energy. And the more after that, protein synthesis. So it's very important after weightlifting to have a proper diet next day. So 24 to 48 hours. So day next day and day after. Yeah. High intensity, high recovery, and high usage during exercise, and long run actually it's moderate. Yeah, so if you're running regularly or walking or swimming, actually you're quite stable in terms of your energy, but still I don't think if you prefer to run and have this long exercise, so very good for your heart. Yeah, but in general for whole metabolism, yeah, do them all. Do your own, including yoga and stretching, because it will help you to relax and stretch your muscles. So now it's very important to mention electrolytes. So we talk already about the importance of calcium. That calcium is essential for contraction. We have a lot of receptors, and the most muscle we have, more calcium required to contract muscle. And of course, here is essential after quite strong physical activity to make sure we bring these electrolytes back if they losing them. And they do lose them. Yeah, I know in terms of cells, the calcium coming in and coming out. So in cells, open the channel, closing, so it's always here and there. However, when we sweat, we do lose a lot. And if you do high energy, starting your engine, or you do lose your electrolytes and you need to bring them back. So make sure you have adequate or food intake or a good diet these very important days after recovery, the same day or within a few days after. So make sure you have a proper fluid balance for muscle contraction, is the nerve function and pH and blood pressure. Deficiency, if you're not going to do that, you will start having deficiency of sodium and then might have a headache, more often nausea, confusion. If you have lack of potassium and sodium is very important, normal cellular level of life, yeah. You might feel muscle weakness, cramps, and irregular heartbeat. Magnesium for recovery, muscle spasm, and fatigue. And in general, actually, magnesium recommended for everyone because magnesium is quite hard to take with a diet. So it's literally majority of us will have a lack of magnesium. But if you start to exercise, make sure you take magnesium 2 hours before you go to bed, and you improve even your sleep and you'll feel much better. And of course, calcium, yeah, because that is signaling and bone remodeling. So remember, calcium is very important. Absorption of vitamin D, yeah. So it's not electrolyte, but still vitamin D is essential here. So make sure you do take vitamin D, but vitamin D should be taken only with a blood test. We discussed last lecture that please don't take supplements, yeah, without doing blood tests. Even occasional potassium, sodium, magnesium, calcium require blood tests to know what's going on and what are your level. Mainly, if you didn't exercise before, then you start to exercise. Keep an eye a little bit more the first half a year. So, post-exercise rehydration guidance. So recommend half a liter to 700 milliliter. Of course, that all depends on the intensity of your training, on your size, and how you sweat or how hot was the day, are you tired? But electrolyte drinks or salty food like bananas and carbohydrates and protein essential. So good diet, yeah. And if diet is not enough, please take some sort of supplementations. So now we arrived at the diet, and here physical activity is essential and very, very important for amino acids and proteins. So, you know, we have 9 essential amino acids. So they're listed here. Leos, and I want to highlight probably tryptophan, one of my favorite one. Why? Because it's produce serotonin, and regulates our mood. So if you want to be a little bit more happy, happy living, happy life, use of tryptophan proteins. And I think we all want to be happy. We want to be more serotonin, happy people. So, and that will be turkey meat. Yeah. But of course not. All the proteins are important. So 9 amino acids here, they are essential. And then we have non-essential amino acids. And non-essential amino acids get produced from essential amino acids. So we need to take these basic and essential amino acids within the food. So if you eat meat, please make sure you balance it. You take all essential amino acids in daily basis and pay attention after extra exercise. The fish, the tofu, quinoa, Greek yogurt, beef, whey, chicken, different sort of meats and fishes. So in terms of proteins, so in lifestyle medicine, we divide them into fast and slow. So different words. Fast is a lean, low fat, low fiber, literally just protein. And they called fast. They're ideal after post workout and the liver breaking down to amino acids very, very quickly. And this is egg whites, white fish, chicken breast, turkey breast, everything lean without no fat. So it's actually quite low in everything and slow. Slow, it is because not only proteins, they have fat. A lot of fat in there and even fiber. And they're perfect for evening meals and long fasting windows. So in the evening or after second day after exercise, for example. Yeah, so you use weightlifting for 1 hour and day number 2 and day number 3. Day number 2 essential. Yeah, so for example, if it was really hard, your muscle in pain and you was lifting a lot and you want your muscle to grow, make sure you have a proper evening because at night time, this is the time really, really needed proteins and your muscles start to grow. So day number 2, after exercise, make sure you have a good steak and a slow protein, so it's a high in fat, or you're taking any types of proteins together with a quite nice portion of fat. And they will promote stable amino acid release and they regulate as well your hunger. So in general, it's a whole eggs because yolk really rich with everything. Beef steak, it's coming with fat. Salmon, omega-3, oil and the fish oil. Again, there's a lot of omega-3 oils in that. Lamb, cottage cheese, everything combination proteins plus fat. I think I tried to explain it's important. Day number 2 mainly. So, but how much protein we should take per day? So here, to keep our basic needs, we don't need a lot. And I would say majority of population in the UK do take basic maintenance, literally normal performance daily function. However, that's not enough for proper health. For if you start having more active lifestyle or you have a light training, you need to take 1.2 to 1.6 gram per kilo. If you start growing your muscles and you do the strength training, day number 2, day number 3 is 1.6 to 2.2 gram per kilo. And if you want to lose your weight, you have to preserve your muscle because then you're losing your weight. Doing metabolism, remember we discussed in our first lecture, our organisms start to eat muscle to produce as well some energy because when there's lack, people trying to lose organism switch on everything and muscles is number 1. And people, I would say, who are on Ozempic or that type of weight loss medications, well, it's very important for them to exercise even extra more and take even more proteins. It's essential because we'll lose eventually a lot of muscles as a result. And anti-aging and longevity for people who get older from age of 40, 50 is very important as well to maintain their muscle because they're losing muscles from age of 30 every year. The older they get, faster we lose them. and the calcium sensitivity and contraction of the muscle response, yeah, to activity and contraction not happening. So they need to regularly build up new muscle, because in new muscle we have this fresh receptors, calcium receptors, and they will contract better. Yeah, because old muscles and all things, they wouldn't be that good. Unfortunately, we can't really, take the old muscle out and build up the new one. Sadly, it's not working this way. Maybe in future sciences will find a way to be sensitive and our receptors to catch and respond fast enough. So, of course, I recommend artificial intelligence and you to use different apps. So here's the calculator.net. You can calculate whatever you want to. It's very popular, and so you can know how much you need and for how long. So it's essential to spread your proteins in 3 to 5 meals for optimal muscle protein synthesis. And if you're going to eat too much protein, that will help you not. Actually, opposite. Make sure you don't consume more than 2.2 grams per kilos. Only if you're weight loss or some sort of recovery, you might be a little more. But in general, a lot of proteins consumption per day for your weight is not beneficial. Yeah. Um, Why minimum amount is not enough? Because minimum recommended amount, if you're taking 1.08, for example, gram per day, per kilo per day, um, it's not it's not perfect for your athletic performance and healthy aging. So ideally, we want to around 2 grams per kilo. Depends on your age and activity and even season. So now, ratio. Ratios mean what we can eat and when. And of course, in terms of snack, we can break these little protein shakes after physical activity. But remember, it's not ideal to have an intense physical activity every single day. So in the morning, they are very sensitive to carbs, and ideally, we want breakfast. We need carbs, and ideally, we want carbs to be the most intake in the morning slot with moderate proteins and moderate fat, because they have the highest insulin sensitivity, and these sugars get absorbed and not creating us a lot of problem later on. In the midday lunch, we want moderate. We want to already reduce carbs intake, and ideally want to be high in proteins and moderate in fat. And in the evening, we want to reduce carbs or fast carbs. So we can still maybe using the low glycemic index carbs. We want moderate in proteins and high in fat. Why? Because we want to release this sugar and preserve the metabolism during the night for the night time. So protein shakes. I have to talk about it because protein shakes are very popular and a lot of people taking them in here. I will share. You can Google it to know how protein shakes make from. Majority of whey isolate or concentrate made from milk. They're super fast absorbed and they help muscle recovery post-workout. So it's great if you have a different whey isolates. Might be cookie, it might be shake, or it might be even chicken breast, some lean meat that will get absorbed very quickly. And we have a plant-based proteins, and you can buy in vegan shops. They're made from pea, from rice, from soy, from hemp. We can have even beef and collagen proteins made from beef and bones, egg proteins, egg whites, and marine collagen. I want here to put your attention marine collagen because it's quite good for tendons and joints. So if you're getting older, it's important you or to use fish skin or bony products. The same gelatin, for example, or make sure you have some sort of supplementation, because then we get older, the joints weakens, and normal proteins, they're not enough. Yeah, so we need specific proteins. Animal source in here probably will be the best because they also have skin, we have joints, tendons, and they have quite good anti-aging properties. I think you saw a lot of marine collagen that's made from different sources, from different fish, or you can eat fish and fish skin, for example, salmon skin. So I don't think it's bad. No, it's not bad at all. It's quite beneficial. So what happens if you're eating too much proteins? I know people sometimes what they do, they take in their food replacement with different protein shakes, and they get absolutely obsessed with proteins. As we discussed, if you put over 2.5 or 3 grams per kilo of your body weight, in long term, might cause you some issues for your health, for kidneys. You might have severe dehydration. You might lose your calcium. That might affect your bone health. Might start have your gut issues like bloating, gas, or constipation, and affect negatively on your microbiomes. You stress your liver because producing too much nitrogen waste, doing process breaking down these proteins, they got increased risk of heart disease. Um, uh, Mainly if you take a lot of red unprocessed meat. So it's very important to balance it together with fiber and carbs. So what is rabbit starvation? So maybe you heard the expression, one, fat is drying, lean is dying. And this is about rabbit starvation. So rabbit starvation is very, very lean meat. And rabbit meat is very lean. Literally, it's no fat or carbohydrates. So it's very good meat for people who want to lose weight, but it's absolutely not good for lean people because might create protein poisoning. And it's not only about rabbit starvation, it's not only about the lean meat, it's about the protein shakes. Yeah, so we do need balance. Just proteins will poison you. And historically, that death was for the hunters. It was going away and were eating too many rabbits without anything else. And actually, you can be so unwell that you can even die. Yeah, so because you have too much excess nitrogen and you don't have enough of proteins, no, enough of fat and carbs. So that's it for today. I think that was comprehensive. And if anyone have any questions,